I'll just go ahead and jump in. Tonight, we're going to talk about peeing our pants. So I don't know.
What?
uh, yeah, we're going to talk about I don't know if, I think this is a really common problem for women, both women who have had children and women who have not had children. And so I wanted to talk about what happens when you're exercising and you pee your pants, why that happens, and the fact that you can actually do something about it. So, um, you don't have to raise your hand, but if you want to, have you ever had that issue while you're exercising, feeling like you are going to pee your pants? Yeah, me too. I used to literally like pee down my legs. That has happened to me in the gym. Um, I had I had to wear, like, I have a very sensitive situation. And I had to wear like washable pads in my underwear because boys' pads would give me um rashes. And so I would wear washable pads, which are, I don't know if you've ever seen a washable pads, but they're not terribly discreet. And especially in leggings. And so it was embarrassing, and so I'm in the gym and having to, like, even though I just went to the bathroom, having to leave what I'm doing to go to the bathroom again in the middle of a class. And I had no idea that it was something I could do something about. It was just this thing that, is very widely accepted by society and women in general. We just think that this is just something that happens as we age, or as after we have babies, or a lot of women who have not had babies and are younger have weak pelvic floors, and they don't talk about it because they're like, something's wrong with me. I haven't had a baby and I still have incontinence issues, and it's embarrassing. So that's why I wanted to talk about it, because we can actually do something about this. Your pelvic floor is comprised of more than just the muscles that you use to do Kegels. I think that a lot of us um, learned at a younger age about Kegels. I know I did. And how, like, it's important to keep it tight down there, but that's really not for us. That's for the men folk, but that's a whole other issue. What I want to talk about is how it affects us, and that Kegels, as we know them, as far as like the squeeze feeling, we can actually over tighten and then have issues with incontinence as well. It's not always a, like, everything down there is loose and that's what causes the issues. Being overly tight can actually cause them too. So I don't know if you guys have ever heard of pelvic floor physical therapy, but it is a thing. There are physical therapists out there that this is their specialty, and they will check you specifically to see, it's hands-on. Like, you have a pelvic exam, and they check your muscles, they check how you're moving, they check what you can do with everything, and then they give you exercises that you can do that are specific to you and your actual needs. Because, for example, I thought I was too loose down there because I had had a baby. I'd always said, like, I had a wide set vagina and, couldn't wear anything smaller than a Super Plus tampon. But after I had my son, I couldn't even wear them. They were so uncomfortable. And turned out I had over tightened myself because I was Kegling, but I wasn't doing it correctly. And there's actually, like what I've been taught is that your pelvic floor is more like a bowl. And so I was imagining, like, squeeze, 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 but really there's a bowl down there. And when you take a deep breath, you're expanding into your bowl. And then when you're exhaling, you're lifting your bowl, not squeezing together, but lifting up. And your pelvic floor is actually like the bowl in the bottom, your core muscles. And I imagine like a piston in my brain when I think about the way that these muscles all work. So you have this whole, like, cylinder of muscles all around, going up all the way to your diaphragm. So you have your pelvic floor down here, your diaphragm's up here, and then your core muscles all around on the inside. And so there's more to you than just a vaginal canal that you're squeezing to tighten. There's actually like a whole host of muscles in there that helps all of that function correctly and carries and holds our bladder and our, organs and all those things in place. And I know that a lot of, like, my mom has had bladder prolapse and had to get it slung up. And I feel like if this was a more common thing to talk about, we could educate women before that ever becomes an issue. And now it still might become an issue, but it's something that we can do something about. We can build muscle. We can go and get looked at and checked to see what our specific problem is. And we can do exercises that will improve this. I am like, can't think of the word, but I'm proof positive. That's the word I was looking for, that this is doable because I did it. And it took me much longer than it would have if I'd known when I started that I could do something about it. And then I didn't just have to deal with it because I was a mom now, and that's just what happens, which is basically what everybody says. And just because an issue is common does not mean it is normal or that we have to put up with it. So, does anyone have any questions about that or want to talk about it or share any experiences that might help some of these other ladies?
I actually went to a physical therapist because I went to my doctor because I was having the problems. And then he referred me to physical therapy, which just described everything that you did. So I'm better. I haven't been doing the exercises lately because I've been busy, but it got me to the point that I didn't have to go to the bathroom every 30 minutes. And basically what was I had to not only strengthen my pelvic floor, but also had to retrain my bladder because it was getting used to going all the time. So, my goal was to go 15 minutes longer to see if I could hold it, do certain exercises, and go 15 minutes longer, each time I went to the bathroom. So that way I was going like every 2 hours instead of every, 20 minutes or so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it was much better than taking pills for it, because they're like, well, we have pills for overactive bladder. I'm like, I don't want medicine. I'd rather see if I can fix it first with the physical therapy. So.
Absolutely. But I didn't even know this was like a thing. Like, I had no clue that it was a thing. This is funny. Okay. So somebody sent me a funny meme the other day of this woman with like a weight attached to something that was inserted in her. And I was like, you laugh, but I bought these they look like little eggs, and they were weighted, and I bought them and stuck them up there to try to hold, like you're supposed to, hold the lightest one. And then once you can hold the lightest one, you go to the next one and blah, blah, blah. But again, like, I had no idea that was really screwing me up worse. And so if we would just go and get checked, like Julie was saying, like, go to an actual physical therapist who can check us and see what is going on with us as a specific person, because it might be loose, but it also might be too tight. And then what do? Nobody talks about being too tight. And so, yeah, it's crazy town.
See, and I'm probably closer to your mom's age, so physical therapy for that wasn't anything thought of back then. So, I mean, after having very large babies, 9 pounds, 13 ounces, and 9'6" and 8'8", the option for me was a bladder lift. So, they didn't have physical therapy 30 years ago or more.
Yeah.
So,
But you can still go too, and like, there's still a lot you could gain from that if that still is an issue. And it's really unbelievable and amazing what our bodies can do, what they were designed to do, if we can tune into them the way that they were created to be taken care of. But yeah, I really wanted to talk about that because it's been a really long time since we talked about it in Fitme. We had Dr. Sandy B. She's a physical therapist, a doctor of physical therapy, and she's a part of the Fitme community. And she actually has a pelvic floor program. And that was kind of when it was being brought to my attention this was a thing. It was like probably, Marlena, do you remember that when we did the Zoom with Dr. Sandy B? Were you on that one? It was like 3 years ago, I think. Yeah, it was a while ago. But I really just wanted to talk about it again because I recently had a client who, when I was talking to her about it, I was like, you know that you can do something about that, right? And she'd never heard that before. And it's so uncommon, and I wish it wasn't. But women's health stuff is so far behind the times. And we just need, the more we talk about it openly, the better off we will be. And so I felt like it was important because it's something that I knew about. And I'm an exercise therapist. And so because I'm on this movement call tonight that I got to lead, because Coach Sam led my food call last week, I was super excited to talk about something that I might have a little bit more unique perspective on. So anyway, who else?
So Lauren, have you ever heard of a pessary?
I have not.
Really?
Right.
So when I was teaching and taking more high impact classes where there was more jumping, more impact, I was having this issue and I went to, I don't know her title, but a specialist. And there are, I don't even know how many different sizes, shapes, varieties of pessaries, Pessary, I believe, if you want to look it up. And so it is a temporary thing that you insert when you are going to do a high impact exercise. And what it did for me is it just slightly pressed on the urethra. So when I made the impact, the urine would not come out. Now you can still go to the bathroom. It takes a little bit of like sitting there and concentrating. And so I would just wear it for the duration of the workout. It's comfortable, kind of feels like putting in, it looks like a diaphragm, although I've never used one of those. You know, mine did, but like I said, there were different shapes and sizes. Anyhow, I mean, I know these things are recorded and they go on YouTube. So I'm like trying to decide how much I really want to share, but I have it. I can show you. Anyway, but it's temporary. It's not surgical. You're not taking medicine. You're not putting anything, like I said, medicine into your body. And then when you're done, you can take it out, or you don't have to. You can wear it during the day if you're not going home or you have to be somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I'm looking it up right now.
I haven't
That's interesting.
worn it in a long time because I think I'm just not doing as high impact things. But I used to love going on trampolines, and I could just go to the bathroom, feel like everything had been excreted, and get on that trampoline, and I could not. It would just come out.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I had the same
another
problem.
option.
Jumping was like no jumping, no squatting, couldn't lift heavy. I mean, I had a lot of issues. Sneezing, coughing, laughing.
I mean, obviously physical therapy is probably the best way to go because you want to strengthen and, go that route, which is great. But for a temporary fix and, to avoid the embarrassment, because I wasn't wearing poise, but I was doing liners. And the activities were so intense that you would just get so sweaty. And so sometimes I'd play it off like, oh, is it sweat or is it urine? Your guess is as good as mine.
Yeah. Well, and we joke around about stuff like that because we just think, well, I got to laugh about it because it's just going to happen now. But really, honestly, like if you're listening to this back, if this is an issue that you have, please feel free to reach out to me. I'd be happy to point you in the right direction. I have lots of clients. It's not something that I deal with. I'm not a physical therapist. But I know that this is a thing. And I know that it's a very common problem, but common doesn't mean normal. And I like the idea of like a temporary Band-Aid instead of a pad, because that's not effective for me. So I wish I had known about that in the past, but you're right. Like, I think that like, if we can be proactive. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, that's
really
mine doesn't
interesting.
look like that, but there's so many different kinds, you guys. So it depends on your body, obviously, after they do the exam, as to what they will suggest that you use. And mine worked really well. So maybe if it didn't, maybe they would have had me come back and try a different one. But I don't know. I want to say it's non-invasive, but I mean, it is internal, but it's temporary. And like I said, comfortable. So.
Yeah, I didn't know that that was a thing. So thank you for sharing that for anybody who needs something in the meantime, because it doesn't fix overnight. You know, it's something that you have to do exercises for, and you have to do, you know, for a long period of time, and to try to fix whatever is going on in there. But it is fixable. We do not have to just deal with it. It's not a normal thing to do. And I think that we as a society just don't care about women's health. Honestly, I'm just going to say it plain. We don't care about women's health enough. And women are just supposed to deal with these things and just act like it's a normal thing to deal with.
But it's also embarrassing to talk about wetting your pants, you know, whether you're sneezing or coughing or exercising. I mean, it's not a common, it's awkward. It's awkward to talk about.
Yeah.
I mean, unless
it is awkward.
But all of us that I could see raised our hands when you asked if any of us had ever wet our pants. I mean,
yeah,
you know, after
it's a common problem.
It is a very common problem. I think out of all of our sisters, there's 7 girls in our family. I think every single one of us have had this issue. So, and I think Julie, you're the only one that's gone to a physical therapist for it.
Yeah, but I think, you know, getting the information out there and knowing you're not alone, I think is going to take the embarrassment out of it, because I think that's what is coming to, that's what we're coming to these days. Is it's like, why are we embarrassed about it? It's life. It's our bodies. Everybody goes through it. Let's do something about it instead of staying embarrassed about it. So I think that's kind of the revolution that women's health is making now, is because, you know, why are we dealing with this, you know, with incontinence, with menopause, with everything else that we go through. I mean, I think once the conversation is brought up, people realize that they're not alone. They don't need to be embarrassed, because it happens to everybody, but there's steps that you can do to help yourself. And if that doesn't work, then, you know, going to a doctor or going to a physical therapist or having the surgery, you know, you have so many options that you can do, and you can make it fit to your lifestyle and what your medical beliefs are. So,
yeah, it's important, and it's important to talk about it. So I'm glad we have this space that we can talk about it. But also, I know that there aren't any men in Fitme, but in case for the men in your lives, men have pelvic floors too, and they struggle with incontinence as well. And so they can actually benefit from different exercises because their bodies are different than ours, but still that's a thing for them too. I actually saw this, like, it's like a panty liner, but it goes like in the front of their boxers or whatever. It's a thing. So I didn't know that.
And then do they have incontinence for the same reasons, like high impact, jumping, exercising, squatting, sneezing, laughing?
I think so. And I think it has to do with a weak pelvic floor. Because the muscles around those, I am not 100% sure, because I don't, this is going to sound terrible. I don't really care because I'm not a man, and I have a man in my life who struggles with it. And so I haven't done any kind of research into like their causes or their issues, but I do feel like I've seen it in passing that men in exercise situations have had that issue as well. But I think it's far less common it might not be. They might just not talk about it either. So, but I know that it is incredibly common for women. And not only is it common, it's well known that it's common. And even though we don't talk about it, all we do is joke about it. Like I remember seeing a meme a couple years ago after I learned that this was a thing. Like if you look like this when you sneeze, you might be a mom. And it was like a lady crossing her legs. And it instantly made me furious because I was like, you can do something about it. Stop making jokes about it. I mean, it is funny. We can joke around it, blah, blah, blah. But like, let's stop just joking about it and really spread the word that there's something we can do about it. And so, Amy, I know you're late to the party, but we were talking about peeing our pants while we're exercising, and that you can actually go to pelvic floor physical therapy and
Yes,
fix
you
it.
can.
So that was something I wanted to talk about. But I also wanted to mention that if you have any kind of bodily pain, you can seriously improve, if not completely heal, your pain with exercise, with the correct movements. Now sometimes, of course, like I'm not going to go so far as to say that like every single thing can be healed by building muscle around it, but a lot of the joint pain, back pain, shoulder pain, neck pain that we experience in normal everyday life that we think is because we're getting older is actually because we can support our body structure with muscle and we don't have muscle there. And so I know that I specifically lived with severe chronic pain in my back for most of my life because I got in an accident when I was in the 10th grade. And I had bulging discs. I was very fortunate that I didn't have any fractures or anything like that, but bone bruising that happened during that accident and bulging discs. And I never knew a day without pain. And there was a time, there were times when I couldn't get out of bed. My mom would have to help me get out of bed. After I had my son, my hips were like super jacked up. And there was a time my husband didn't even really know that I was in pain all the time because I just didn't talk about it because I just thought this is how I'm living my life. I just thought it was normal. There's no reason for me to complain every single day. That's just how I feel all the time. And I couldn't get out of bed this one morning after I had MS. I couldn't use my legs. And finally went to the chiropractor. I went to the chiropractor for like 6 months and he finally got me my hips readjusted and I was just in my normal pain again, but I could walk. So that was great. And it was not until 4 years ago when I started my healthy journey. I'm going to probably get choked up. So sorry guys, but y'all know me. So, when I started exercising and building muscle, and it wasn't intentional, that wasn't what I set out to do. I didn't think I could. And I don't remember when I stopped being in pain, but I remember the first day I was in pain again. And I was like, oh my gosh, did I feel all the time before? This is horrible. But I didn't know what it was like to feel good. I didn't know. And so I became an advocate for training out of pain. And it was so important to me. And I've helped so many women train out of pain out of their knees, pain out of their feet, pain out of their shoulders, pain out of their backs by building muscle to support their skeletal structure and to support their joints and to help build bone density. I have a lady who's one of my one-on-one clients, and she used to break her feet all the time because her bones were so brittle. And by strength training, she was able to increase her bone density and hasn't broken her feet in about 1.5 years and used to break them multiple times a year. Yeah. Just like stress fractures in her feet. And so building muscle is so, so, so important for us. But if you're in pain, talk to me or talk to Tori or talk to one of the trainers that we have, because we can help you build a program that will meet you where you are and help you build muscle in a safe way to then support that joint, support that part of your body. And if not completely eliminate your pain, seriously improve it. But doing it in a safe way that's not just like, well, let me go to the gym and just start building muscle, because you don't know what to do. You don't know where to start. It can be really scary. It can feel super overwhelming. You can be afraid you're going to hurt yourself worse, which is a lot of people. So oftentimes you just don't realize how slow you do need to start, and how much just those slow movements can improve your muscle growth. But not only training out of pain, but building muscle as we age is super, super important for our bone density and for our quality of life and for our posture, and so that we can, walk around with chase after our grandkids and get up and down off the ground if you fall, and keep yourself from tripping and all those kind of things that we just think. And it's another thing we joke about, I'm getting old, that's why my back hurts when I wake up in the morning. You don't have to deal with that. You don't have to deal with that.
I think too, Lauren, what you said about knowing the right exercises, because I think a lot of us, so I've been working out my whole life and I have injuries from that. And a lot of people have injuries from sports or whatever. And I was doing the wrong exercises, stuff that I thought was the right exercises to increase that strength, but it was actually the wrong ones to help with my pain. So that is the super key, because just because you're doing strength exercises or doing other movement exercises doesn't mean it's the right ones for your body. And taking that time to really, like you said, talk to you, talk to Tori. Tori for me has been a big change in my pain level. And I have many injuries. The biggest one is my knee. And that's the one that they completely wanted to give me a knee replacement. And I'm only 38. And she has almost eliminated a lot of the issues that I've been having. I'm not super consistent with doing the exercises, but I'm making slow improvements, and I know it's going to be a lifelong thing. But I was doing the complete wrong exercises, even as somebody who has a master's in kinesiology and is a trainer, complete wrong. So that's a super key thing for me, that I've just learned in the last year.
Thank you for sharing that, Amy. That's amazing. And that reminds me to say, do not work through pain. If you pick up weights or you're doing exercises, do not ever work through pain. There's a difference between muscle burn and pain. If you feel pain in your body, stop immediately. And if you know a modification, do one. If you don't know a modification, ask one of us and let's talk about it, because no pain, no gain is bullshit. And you should never, ever, ever work your body through pain. You feel muscle burn, you feel muscle, what's it called? Where just your muscles are just I literally cannot pick my arms up anymore. Can't think of the word.
Fatigue.
Yes, thank you. Words are hard to say. But yes, those are totally normal. But if you feel sharp pains, if you feel some kind of discomfort, especially in any of your primary, your main joints, stop right away, because there are safer movements that you can do. I had one of my one-on-one personal training clients last year. She had to get a knee replacement, and we were working on building her muscle around her knee, leading up to it. We knew that it was, going to happen. And so we did that. And she was able to really be without a lot of pain. She still had some pain. But when she had her knee replacement, her surgeon was telling her how impressed he was with the muscle development around her knee. And he said, what are you doing? And she said, I have a trainer. And he was like, I'm just going to send you right back to her with your exercises, because this is working. And so that made me feel so validated, because he saw her muscles from the inside and could see the benefit that it was having on her quality of life. And so, not all personal trainers have this approach. So if you go to somebody and it just doesn't seem right, find the right person. but absolutely never, ever, ever work through pain. And you can train yourself out of, if not just improving your pain, completely train yourself out of pain, which was my experience. So, yeah. Anybody have anything to add or any questions to ask before we wrap up? No? Okay, well, awesome. Thank you guys so much for being on this call. I'm really excited that I got to lead it today. No food call on Wednesday because we're all going to be getting ready for Thanksgiving. But all the ladies who have their screens turned off, if you don't mind turning your screen on to get a smiley face, but I won't push you if you don't want to. I'll just give you a second. There's Gisela. Hey. Marlena. All right, Raquel, I'm not going to like harass you, but you're the only one. It's okay. I can emoji
Raquel,
you.
Your coach told you that you had to do it. It's a bonus point.
I'll emoji you, Raquel.
Okay.
Yeah, you get 1,000 bonus princess points.
1,000 bonus points, Raquel. 1,000.
Yeah.
She's like,
All
not
right, guys.
doing it.
Here we go. Ready? Smile. 1, 2, 3. Cheese. Awesome. Thank you, ladies, so much. Have a super awesome rest of your week and a happy Thanksgiving. I love you all.
Thank you.
Bye.
Happy
You
Thanksgiving,
too.
ladies.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.